healing as a mental type. Now, our minds as a mental type are our greatest gifts. They are our guidance system. They are how we know things to be true. They are how we operate in the world. And if our minds are not connected to our mental energy, we're going to have a really hard time making decisions. We're going to have a really hard time trusting any action to take or not take. And so, first of all, we need to understand what a connected mental type looks like and what a wounded mental type looks like. And so, a connected mental type is going to trust themselves. They're going to trust their actions, their decisions, their knowings, their understandings. They're going to trust all of this processing, and they're going to take the outputs of that processing to be true. They're not going to go back and try to find the bug in the software. They're going to trust their processing power. And a mental type does so 100% of the time if their connection is solid. Now, that may seem like a lot, and not everybody's going to be there. Majority of us have had lots of woundings over the years, over our lives. And if you struggle to trust yourself first, if you struggle to trust the outputs of your understandings, we need to look at why. Because a wounded mental type is going to question themselves. They're going to question the choices they've made. They're going to question their decisions and their understandings. They're going to question who they are. They're going to question everything, including the feelings they may be disassociating from and not feeling. They're going to question any messages or information. They're going to question their physical existence, because that's what mentals do, is we question everything. And so if we don't trust the answer, then we're just going to have more questions. And it's going to cause a complete disassociation from the trust that you need to have in your mental capacity. My ex-husband was a mental type, and he was one of the most wounded mental types that I knew. And I didn't know it at the time. I didn't understand it at the time. But what happened to him as a child and what happened to him throughout his life basically taught him to not trust himself and to disassociate from his mental energy, from his emotional energy, from his spiritual energy. And all he had left was the physical, and that was his outlet. And so he turned to physical addictions, and he turned to trying to basically run away from his runaway mind. But you can't as a mental. You can't escape your mind. You can't escape your mind, and you can't. And if you choose to abuse your body or you choose to abuse your physical environment, it's only going to deepen your distrust in self. And so we have to fix this, right? How do we fix this? So as a mental type, we have to first understand why we've been doing this. Why did we decide that our mental health, our mind's understanding, our mental processing was wrong? Why did we decide that our beautiful, brilliant mind wasn't what it was supposed to be? Who told us that we were wrong or stupid or didn't know something? Who told us that it wasn't okay to think like we thought? Who installed this belief in us that we were bad? And essentially, for a mental type, our minds, because it is so connected to who we are, usually that comes in the form of what you think is not true with all of this evidence, which directly negates everything that you know to be true, disassociating yourself. And when this happens time and time and time again, and you're basically being gaslit by your primary caregivers, your teachers, everybody else, to convince you that your mind is the problem, you will continue to disassociate. And so a mental energy type that's been gaslit and manipulated and mentally abused is going to have that disconnection. And so if we can understand why, when it happened, and understand that that disassociation we did to keep ourselves safe, because likely this happened in childhood and in early childhood, in infancy, you may not even specifically remember the first time it happened. But if you can find the energy in your mind of the feeling of, I know something to be true and everybody around me tells me I'm wrong. Everybody says that didn't happen. That's not how it was. And when that gets repeated time and time again, that program gets installed and you start to go, well, the only way to be safe in this environment as a child is to believe them. And by believing them, you disassociate, but you're safe in that existence in that moment. And so Once we come to this understanding and we recognize that we chose to be safe in that moment, and that now it's time to uninstall the programmatic beliefs and the gaslighting and the manipulation that came from other people, and come back to understanding that we were right back then. Back then we were right, but there wasn't anything we could do because keeping ourselves physically safe was the most important thing. And now that we're here and now, keeping our mental state safe is the most important thing. And so coming back into wholeness is what's going to provide us mental safety and security, and understanding that we've got us because we are brilliant. We can put all of the puzzles together faster than anybody else. And if we can do so for ourselves and come back into trust with ourselves, then we can start to heal those wounds and we can start to honor who we are. Sometimes some of us are going to need to almost do an exercise where we go back in time and we tell ourselves and we honor ourselves that we get out of this. We get out and we're okay. And I've got you. And it may not make sense right now. And I know people are telling you you're wrong. For now, we have to believe them. But once we come on the other side, I've got you and we're going to get out of this and we're going to use this information for a reason. We're collecting data right now. We're collecting data and experiences and understandings so that we can do something with it. We're on an expedition mission, essentially. And then when we collect this all of this information and all of these experiences, and we are able to process and understand it with a new set of understandings, it's going to make sense. It will make sense eventually. And today gets to be that day if you want it to be. But that previous version of you, that childhood self, needs to know that it's going to come. And if we can give that to our past versions of self, we can give that level of understanding and we can find trust in ourselves again, that this is the moment to come back to self, to trust self first, to be connected to self first through our minds, that we can truly solve any puzzle, any understanding we can create for ourselves, which can translate to any outcome we desire for ourselves, our children, the planet, the world, and more. I will see you in the next video.